This is my first generator. It's a smaller one. It was my dad's first one, and I bought it from him when I came to this farm 30 years ago. And then it's a little light to run the whole farm. You know, you can run, maybe you can run the milk machine, but you can't run the compressor at the same time to cool the milk. So then, you know, you're doing one thing at a time if you have a power outage to get done. So anyway, it's down here in this shed down the road here. You know, it's like a half mile from our building site. I got my first air compressor, which is on wheels, and it's a good one. It's just not as big as what we got in the shop now. And I got myself a hose and my, you know, my gauge here, the chuck to fill the tires. You know, there's a lot of wheels in this shed, a lot of tires. And over the course of the winter or any time in the year, you know, you get here and you're ready to, you want to use a machine or move a machine, and it's got a flat tire, like completely flat, like a slow leaker that went completely flat over time. So I can hook this up to PTO, flick on my compressor, you know, I got my hose, so I'm able to air up a tire, even enough just to limp it home, because we're a long ways from electricity. So actually that system works out really well, because this M I usually leave down here. The high gear is actually out of it. It actually pops out of high gear, so then I leave it down here to move machinery around, and that works great. That's more than enough to run what we got to do here. But I actually thought of even like wiring up this shed, maybe having 1 or 2 big floodlights, and then, you know, I could hook on this generator, pull it out around the corner, and have a cord to just plug it in. And while we're, you know, if we ever had to do something here at night, you know, for whatever reason, you know, you got weather coming in and you want to, you know, you get your equipment put away or rearranged, you got light, you know, along with whatever else you might have to repair down here if you get kind of in a pinch with something. So it's kind of neat. It's just another option we got. And of course, this thing can get hooked up and took anywhere out in the field, and with a welder or, you know, whatever. It's kind of like insurance for things that go on around here. And it's going to happen where we need these things. You know, it's just a matter of when, it's not if. We're going to do a little bit of tedding. The weather's been awfully dry, but I usually like a field like over there, like along the trees. Kind of gets way up in the back where there's a little more shade. We're just going to ted a little bit because we can, and it just helps speed up our haymaking process. It does make better hay. It's another pass you got to make, but I thought maybe you guys could check out this tedder what we're using again. I believe they're made in the U.S. I think Pennsylvania. Yeah, New Holland, Pennsylvania. We bought this thing last fall, and there is a video. Aaron will probably put that up for you guys to check out, where we did talk about it, and we kind of both went through the detail on it a little bit, what we knew about it at that time, and then there's just a little bit of tedding in there. So he asked me to maybe do a little bit of a tedding video again. And I put it on a 7405, so I probably won't say too much as we get going here because of the noise, but what I've learned needs to happen is you need, you know, reasonable horsepower because of these hills, and you're better off to run your RPMs or your PTO shaft only like at half throttle or a little less even. And doing that with a smaller tractor, you just don't end up with enough power. You know, so you got to run it wide open, and then the hay is just flying like faster or further than it should or needs to. You know, you just need to move it enough to kind of break up those bunches that might get created with the cutter, and just spread things out a little more. And then sometimes when the ground is really wet, this is a way to, you know, after several hours after you mowed, to actually move the hay a little bit to get those wet spots dried up a little bit more, so your hay dries more evenly. This tedder is about twice as heavy as the first one I had. That was a good tedder, did a nice job. It's just built like a tinker toy. This one's heavier. Like I said in that other video from last fall, that probably explained most of that. So here we go. We're gonna probably go down in the field. I might have to check my adjustments. I think Mason did a little tedding here a few days back, and might have it close enough. But anyway, you'll see how that works. So I'm going a little slower around the edges so that we don't blow the hay into the, you know, the ditch or the woods and that. Once I get a little further away, then you can open it up a little bit more.